Hello everybody, it's Jurassiczilla here, and today we're going to be talking about 5 Toho Kaiju that I really want to be in the Monsterverse as a villain. Talking about you guy again. Okay, so basically we're going to be looking at some Toho Godzilla Kaiju, and we're going to see which 5 of them should go into the Monsterverse. The only rules are, it has to be one of the Toho Kaiju, so I'm not going to make up a new monster or anything. It's only going to be a Toho Kaiju. Alright, well, let's start. So number 5 on the list, it's Space Godzilla. I mean, we haven't seen Space Godzilla since 1994. He is one of the more famous Godzilla villains, and he's basically Godzilla from space. Obviously you have Biollante and Mothra's DNA mixed within him, but we already have Mothra in the Monsterverse already, and we don't have Biollante yet, but who knows, Biollante could always appear some other time. And you don't even have to have Biollante in the movie, you could just do a whole bunch of explanations and all that stuff that I'm not smart enough to understand. But basically, Space Godzilla is really cool because he has all of these powers, possibly even way more powers than Godzilla himself. And I just feel like if he was in the Monsterverse, he would be insanely strong and people would like him a lot. As to all the people saying oh, it's unrealistic to have Space Godzilla in the Monsterverse. Well, we already did have Ghidorah. He's from space, some other planet, so I just feel like Space Godzilla could actually work. Because, they're both from space, so you can just have this weird explanation saying that I don't know, Godzilla's DNA got carried with someone and then went to space and then created a whole new Godzilla. I don't know how they can explain it, but... Coming in on number 4 on the list is actually Monster X. I don't have a Monster X figure to hold, but Monster X, or also Kaiser Ghidorah. And the reason why he's above Space Godzilla is I feel like Monster X could just do more. I mean, you see him in Final Wars, he fought Godzilla, punched him, tail whipped him and all of that. He actually fights more like a human than even Kong does. But the thing is, we haven't seen Monster X since 2004, which really wasn't that long ago. Godzilla Final Wars is personally one of my favorite Godzilla movies. But I just feel like since he came out in 2004, you don't really need to have him back because he's one of the more newer Godzilla Kaiju, not like the older ones. And not as many people know Monster X really as well. But the real thing about him is Kaiser Ghidorah. Now Kaiser Ghidorah would be awesome. Basically Ghidorah with 4 legs, have an updated design, huge wings. He'd probably be bigger than actual Ghidorah from 2019. But the main problem is that how would you explain that? If Monster X turns into Kaiser Ghidorah, which is basically another Ghidorah, then what about Ghidorah from King of the Monsters? Was he once a Monster X? They would have to explain all that stuff, probably, or probably not. But who knows, they're aliens, they could do whatever they want. It just would be cool to see a bigger version of Ghidorah where you go through the whole movie, maybe Godzilla's fighting some other kaiju. Monster X comes out of nowhere, Godzilla fights him out of nowhere, Monster X turns into a giant Ghidorah-like creature, and then Godzilla gets flashbacks from King of the Monsters, oh, I fought a Ghidorah just like this. And then they have this big battle, and it's so unexpected from Godzilla to be fighting another Ghidorah. I just think it'd be cool. I don't know how they would kind of mix it in with the Monsterverse, or how that would really impact the Monsterverse, since we already had a Godzilla vs. Ghidorah fight before, so you really don't need another one. But still, Monster X as a villain would be amazing. Coming in at number 3 on the list is actually might be surprising to some people. King Caesar. Now the reason I chose King Caesar isn't to fight Godzilla, but to fight Kong. since we know Kong's, going to continue in the Monsterverse, he didn't die in Godzilla vs. Kong, he's still alive. The next Monsterverse movie they're making right now is going to have Kong in it. So, I mean, I feel like someone like King Caesar would just be like the perfect one for Kong to fight. It could be like a War of the Gargantuas type thing where it's like these big creatures. You got Kong, with the muscle and all that. Then King Caesar, they can put more muscle on him, and basically it'll just be amazing to see Kong fight something that's, very similar to him rather than like a giant lizard. Well, two giant lizards since the Skullcrawlers and Godzilla. But I feel like King Caesar would just be an amazing enemy. He does have that, like, beam thing, or if you shoot a beam at him, you can, like, deflect it back or whatever. Kong doesn't have any power, so it wouldn't really work with him. But basically, they could probably be exploring the Hollow Earth, and then King Caesar comes out of nowhere. Maybe King Caesar's, like, the king of the Hollow Earth or something like that. I mean, come on, he looks like a king. And maybe Kong could fight King Caesar for the Hollow Earth, and, like, it could be amazing. Now, I understand that you're probably thinking like, oh, like Kong would win because King Caesar isn't as strong. But remember, this is the Monsterverse. If they want to upgrade King Caesar, they can always upgrade King Caesar. I mean, it's really not that hard. But yeah, basically I also made a poster for Kong Hollow Earth, like a fan-made poster, having King Caesar as basically the villain. I understand some people don't view King Caesar as a villain, or more of like a ally to Godzilla, but I mean, he did fight him in Final War, so I'm just saying. He would be a really good enemy to Kong, and I feel like Kong needs to fight something similar to him. Instead of stuff that's like a lot different and has all these powers and stuff like that, like Godzilla, I feel like something like King Caesar would be just a perfect enemy for him. I mean, I can't really think of anything else for Kong to fight that's, a Toho Kaiju. Someone like Gigan would probably just cut him up. Space Godzilla would destroy him. Destroyer would probably destroy him. King Caesar is like on Kong's level, so he'd be really good. But now, back to the Godzilla enemies. Coming in at number 2, you probably know who it is. It's Gigan. Many people, including me, has wanted Gigan to be in the Monsterverse for such a long time. I mean, he is absolutely amazing. He's got all these sharp points on him, the chainsaws, just the claw hands, the buzzsaw on his chest and stuff, with all the spikes all around him on his neck, his wings, his tail, and everything. I just feel like he'd be so good. Yet again, Gigan is an alien, Ghidorah is an alien. We already established that aliens are in the Monsterverse, so Gigan isn't that far-fetched. Like, he could definitely exist. His eye laser. I mean, I feel like he'd be such a good enemy for Godzilla because it's kind of like the Mutos in 2014 when the Mutos were stabbing Godzilla and the blood was squirting out of him all the time. I feel like Gigan would do way more damage than the Mutos because he's sharp all around him. Even the figures I have are sharp. Some people may say that, oh, in Godzilla Final Wars, Godzilla just blew off his head. He's really easy to kill. Well, maybe it could be a Showa Gigan type thing where instead of being more of a robot, he might be more fleshy and just have like the metal parts like Showa Gigan, who's all the way up there on my shelf and I can't really get him right now. But I'll have images on the screen so you can see. But yeah, there's so many ways to like make Gigan really powerful. You could have a whole story of basically Gigan comes down to Earth, starts doing stuff. Godzilla maybe fights him and then he's like too strong, he slices him up, and then I don't know, maybe even Kong could probably help because, I don't know that Kong would do that well against Gigan, but he might be able to do something. He might be able to jump on the back of him and maybe rip the head off or something like that. But yeah, I feel like Gigan needs to be in the Monsterverse. He is one of the most famous Godzilla, just kaiju, not even just villains, just Godzilla kaiju in general. So yeah, bring Gigan back to the Monsterverse. Coming in first place, one of the most obvious answers, Destroyer! Destroyer is literally the big bad of just Godzilla in general. Some people may say it's Ghidorah, and I can agree on that, but Destroyer, I feel like, would actually be stronger than Ghidorah. I mean, we haven't seen him since 1995. That was the only time he really actually appeared in an official Godzilla movie. You already had the Oxygen Destroyer in King of the Monsters, which is basically what he's made from. have that crab DNA or whatever mixed into that, and boom, you got Destroyer. I mean, technically, Destroyer could be in the Monsterverse right now as like a little crab crustacean thingy, constantly evolving slowly over time, and we just don't know it yet. But he could be in the ocean somewhere, technically. I feel like that would be like the best way to explain it, is that all this time, all these years leading up to Godzilla vs. Kong, and just all throughout those years, probably up to 2024 when the next Monsterverse movie comes out, you can just say Destroyer has been evolving and evolving, and this is basically what he evolved to. This giant crab-like monster with huge wings, a big fat tail, giant legs, and way bigger than Ghidorah himself. I just feel like Destroyer is basically the end game to the Monsterverse. But there are two main problems with having someone like Destroyer in the Monsterverse. Problem number one, like I said before, Destroyer is more of the end game type kaiju, where it's like maybe the last Monsterverse movie they make would have them fighting against Destroyer. So if you get Destroyer in this new Monsterverse movie, right, that's coming out 2024, then, you know, it would kind of have to be the last Monsterverse movie, in my opinion, because Destroyer is really strong. You need a whole bunch of other kaijus to fight him, and I just feel like he should be the last. Kind of like the Heisei films. That was the last Heisei film, Godzilla vs. Destroyer in 1995. And that also leads into the second problem, is that the budget. Like, the budget for that movie would have to be huge. You couldn't just have Godzilla and Kong fighting Destroyer, because it'd be like a Mechagodzilla situation. We already had Godzilla and Kong fight him, and Godzilla and Kong teamed up together probably still wouldn't kill Destroyer, because if they added Destroyer in the Monsterverse, I feel like you would have to make him really, really strong. Stronger than Mechagodzilla, stronger than Ghidorah, stronger than the Mutos, all of that, because he just looks the strongest, and he kind of is one of the strongest. So if you do that, you gotta add like Godzilla, Kong, Rodan, Mothra, maybe bring Behemoth and Methuselah and Scylla back, maybe even add Anguirus in there, and some other Toho kaijus, maybe King Caesar if you want. Like, there's a lot of monsters that you would have to face up against Destroyer, and that's why if they made a movie, I feel like they should call it Destroyer of Monsters, like the 1968 one. But yeah, that is my top 5 villains that should probably be in the Monsterverse. What do you think about this list? Personally, obviously I chose the more popular kaiju, because if you include stuff like Destroyer or Gigan, more people know Destroyer and Gigan rather than someone like, I don't know, Mecha King Ghidorah, or even, maybe even Biollante as well. Also things like Gorosaurus and like Baragon, like not as many people know them. Destroyer and Gigan, definitely top 2 for the Monsterverse to fight Godzilla. But do you agree on this list? And if not, what other monsters do you think should be in the Monsterverse? I'm Jurassic Zilla, and have a great Godzilla day.